tell your friends, let everybody know in your circle that you're single because you just never know. When you don't put it out there, they don't know that you're single or they don't know that you're looking. And so, they can be your matchmakers as well. But there's a lot of different avenues for them to meet somebody. I think you first just got to, put yourself out there, be open to the possibilities.
Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I'm your host, May Bugenhagen. I run a boutique matchmaking company based out of Los Angeles, but men are all over the US who want to meet Asian women all over the US. They contact me, and I work with men who are the paying clients, and the women join my database for free. So if you're listening out there, I would love for you to join my database so I can set you up, have a way of finding you. And all the guys that sign up with me are great, successful, accomplished men in their field. Today, I have a special guest, Jennifer Hayes. She is a certified matchmaker and relationship expert with over 25 years in the industry, which I don't even know why she looks so young. Driven by the motto, love big and live big. She guides clients toward lasting love while being a driving force behind South Carolina Matchmakers, ensuring the tools for passionate, lifelong connections. Beyond her professional role, Jennifer's philanthropic involvement with the Heart Association for over 20 years and her dedication as an author further highlight her commitment to genuine and fulfilling love. Welcome to the show, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, you are the matchmaker in South Carolina. Seems like you have multiple locations out there and you've been doing this for a while. So, what are some best
Absolutely.
things about South Carolina that you can share with us? What are some of the highlights of that state?
Oh, goodness. Well, Charleston, for one, is beautiful where we have one of our locations. It's just, there's a lot of transplants there, from other all over. And so I think the diversity there makes it beautiful. And also just the history, I'm sure there's some good and bad, but the history is beautiful. When you walk downtown and the streets and just, I love it. I love it. It's beautiful.
That's awesome. I just got back from North Carolina. So if South Carolina is anything like North Carolina, man, I would sure love to visit it soon. But yeah, today we're going to talk a little bit about your clients who you specialize in. You work a lot with widowed clients in the matchmaking and the date coaching world.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the people coming to you and what they really need help with right off the bat.
Um, again, we have clients that have all different backgrounds, but the majority of our clients have been widowed, and I think that they come to us because they just don't know where to start. They just don't know where to start after being married for so many years. Where do I go? Like, this is very foreign to me. And so that's what we hear from a lot of people. Also, with the safety factor, as a matchmaker, that a lot of people are just really are worried and they're leery about trying it on their own, using other avenues. And so they're coming here for, I think, guidance, guidance on how do I do this? Where do I start? Because they feel like, if I was married for 36 years, the dating industry has changed, or they feel like the dating industry has changed. And so, how do I approach this?
Yeah, it seems like after they've been married for so long, they're just wondering, like, okay, I do want to find another special someone in my life, but how do we navigate the modern dating landscape and find someone? Like, what are some of the challenges? Are they still doing online dating or do they prefer matchmaking or going
Well, if
like,
if
yeah.
they come to us, I'm sorry, if they come to us, then they're looking for a matchmaker. They don't want to do online dating, or maybe they've tried online dating. I do have a lot of clients that have tried online dating and it didn't work, or some people were scammed. There's just different reasons. But once they get to us, they've either tried it or they're looking for a different way. They're looking for a different way, a different avenue to meet somebody.
So do you give them special guidance on safety? Like what are some tips you can give somebody on protecting themselves?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things is with us, we do background screenings with our company. So we can assure them that the person that they're going out with, we have met with them in person. We have screened them. We make sure that, they are who they say they are. Because a lot of times people are getting catfished online, where somebody's, picture is not who they say they are, but they believe it because, catfishing it's gotten so advanced now. And, people send in these pictures or they even talk on videos and they think it's that person, but it's not. And so one of the biggest things is just making them feel secure about the dating process, coming in, letting them know that we are different and how we're different and how we're going to make sure that, that they are safe. And so I think that is like the biggest thing is just assuring them that this is a different way. And I'm not saying that online dating doesn't work because it works for a lot of people, but with us, it's just a different process to assure your safety. So that's kind of like the first step.
Yeah, I feel like the background checks can really put someone at ease when they're new to this. They already are a little bit nervous about dating, but with that extra layer of security, I would imagine that would make a lot of the women feel better that you guys are background checking the men for them prior to them going out. So that's good. Yeah.
Right. And not just and also with the men too, is a lot of times they feel like somebody sees widowed on a profile. What's their perception of who I am? Like, do they think I have money? So men are just as concerned as women. They're worried about being taken advantage of. They're also worried about another good, thing that we offer is coaching. And that's where I come in is sometimes they're worried about jumping into a relationship too soon, and needing a little bit of guidance or, a third party to kind of see like, is this, does this feel right? Does this look right? This relationship look right? Because they were married for so many years and they're missing their spouse and they're wanting that again. And they're worried about jumping into something too soon that might not be right for them.
What are some signs that someone is jumping into a relationship too soon after their spouse pass away? Like, when do they know or can feel like, okay, getting into an exclusive relationship feels right? Like, what are some ways that you can let the audience know what is right and when is it okay? I know it's different for everybody, but do you have like some yellow flags or red flags or green flags for them to follow?
I would think that they're normal, just like even if you weren't widowed, that, green flags would be, somebody, if you're dating somebody and they're showing you that they're into you, they're showing you, they're calling you, they're being a man of their word. If he says he's going to call, he calls, you know, um, that you're not the only one that's an active participant in this. You're not the only one that's calling. You're not the only one that's texting the other person. And then I think, red flags would be, the same thing is that somebody that doesn't pick up the phone and call you, that you always have to go out of your way to plan things, I think in the dating world, it doesn't matter if they're widowed or if they were divorced or whatever they are, that green and red flags are kind of the same. Now, as far as the widow feeling like, am I ready to date? I think that they're going to go through a lot of the different emotions when it comes to that. And I think that if they feel comfortable with this person, if they feel like they're excited and they want to be with this person, that kind of lets them know they have to trust themselves and trust their intuition to know whether to move forward with the relationship. I don't know if that's answering your question.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to picture, like a friend who's widowed and, it could be mourning a long marriage, like coming out of a divorce, is there a difference with the people? Like, are they more skeptical or more positive if they've had a great marriage and then their spouse pass away? Are they more optimistic? Versus somebody
I,
who comes out of a divorce, nasty divorce, they're more skeptical. Like, do you notice the difference in the type of clients and how they act when they come back into the dating
absolutely.
world?
And I think that depends on the person. Every person's different. But I do think that somebody that had a marriage for 36 years, and it was a good marriage, that they are wanting to do it again because they know what it feels like to have a good marriage. They know, they know that feeling. And so many times they say, I want that. I want that again, and I'm like, what a better affirmation, to your husband or your late wife than to say that what we had was so amazing that I want to do this again, you know? And I think that it just takes time for them to, you know, I feel like, when they get to us, a lot of times they're at that point. They've already grieved. They've already gone through the process. A lot of them have had counseling. And so they're ready to take the next step because they've done the work, you know. Although you do get some people that haven't. They've kind of just jumped into this. It's been 5 months and I'm lonely and where do I go? And they just kind of jump into this. But that's where the coaching comes in, and that's where we go through certain steps to make sure they feel good about where they're at in the process, that they kind of acknowledge their emotions. And, I always say take small steps, take small steps to feel, to see if this feels good for you. Because if it doesn't, then we stop and we heal or we go through whatever we need to go through before we continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what if my late spouse was my best friend and confidant? How can I ensure that I'm emotionally ready to open up to someone new and potentially create a deep connection?
I think you have to prioritize prioritize what you want first, and give yourself, like I said, time to grieve. That's important. Give yourself time to grieve and just make sure that you're emotionally ready. I think it's all part of the process. Get with a coach. Get it if you can't find a coach, maybe you need to go see a grief counselor. But I think that those are important steps that you need to take before you move forward.
Yeah. Um, do you find that sometimes people who come to you just should not be dating yet that aren't ready to date? Like, do you tell them, hey, you know what? Let's just slow down a little bit. Like, do you say, you know what, we're not gonna
Absolutely.
match make you now, but let's talk first and see where you're at. Like, do you ever have clients that come in and you feel like, dude, you're not ready right now?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's I have a lot of clients that come in and say, tell me that they're not ready. Like I want to do this, but I need to go through coaching or I need a few sessions with you, Jennifer, before I'm ready to get out there because they have maybe they're bringing in some bad habits, that they had in past relationships and they want to learn how to change that. Like how do I change that? In order to move forward so that I am successful when it comes to, dating or finding that person.
Yeah, I remember me day coaching people and making sure that, hey, you don't want to compare your current girlfriend with your previous wife or previous girlfriend. Don't take her to the same locations for dinner that would bring up memories of, your previous relationships or your previous marriage or previous spouse. Like, what are some other tips that you would advise the singles who are widowed to do instead of, do you know what I mean? Like, are there some tips that you have for them that can help them not compare their previous spouse to the person in front of them?
I think focus on your date. That's what I always tell them is the one thing I want you to do is I want you to go out on this date and I want you to have fun. And I know you've got a lot of thoughts going on and you're thinking about your late spouse and everything else, but I always advise them not to really talk about them so much because that's the biggest thing is you don't really know how somebody's going to perceive that. And so because I get feedback, when I get feedback, sometimes I'll get feedback that, oh, this person, all they did was talk about their late spouse. So it's telling that other person they're not over them. When that doesn't really mean that they're not over them. It just means this is new territory for them. Like I don't know what to talk about. So a lot of times we'll do role playing and pretending like they're on a date so that they can ask me questions and get comfortable with asking those questions because sometimes they don't know what to say or where to go. They had a spouse for 36 years. This is what we talked about. This is what we talked about, and it was easy with this person. So role playing is really helpful. And that's where I said, where a coach comes in, so we can role play And and I do send them different, tips and different things on not to do, but everybody is their own person. And so I can only advise them, as you know, doesn't always go that way.
So, you know how, like, when we're helping clients in their 20s or 30s and we wish the men were better at communication, are men better
Right.
communicators as they get older, or are they just more shut down? Like, what are some of your thoughts? Like, do older
I don't
couples
know if they're, I
communicate?
think that they think, I'm sorry, I keep talking for you. I think that communication's different. And I think that just because they can communicate doesn't mean that it's better. A lot of the feedback that I get on dates are, he didn't allow me to talk. He talked about himself the entire time. So that's the difference, is knowing when to balance that. And that's one of the things that we work on in coaching is, if I'm getting feedback from other clients that this client doesn't allow them to even, didn't ask about anything about me. It's, showing them that they didn't really care. Then I, would talk to him and try to get him to see that it has to be a two-way conversation. You ask a question and you be quiet and you let her answer. It's not just you fill the whole, hour with you talking and telling her all of your accolades and everything about yourself.
So, with your widowed clients, what are their biggest challenges with what's going on in the dating world now? Because if they were married for 20, 30, 40 years, what are some of the things that shock them when they come out and date?
Well, I'm trying to think some of the things that shock them. I think some of the biggest challenges is just really knowing where to meet people or what to do. And I think that they have a fear that because they haven't dated in so many years, that it's going to be different. It's going to be so different. Like dating is going to be this, magical thing. And what I try to tell them is that the people that you're dating more than likely haven't dated in a while, so you're in the same kind of age group. And it's still the same, even though we have online dating and we have all these different avenues. Dating itself hasn't really changed. You still, other than like the different things that you might do on a date, I advise my clients to be more active on a date than just sitting down and having dinner and talking, because I feel like you get to know a person better, and you don't feel as, you're not as, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not as worried on the date if you're, staring into their eyes and worried about what they're going to say and worried about the silence and all of that. So that's, I think, the biggest thing is they're just worried about what to do, you know.
Do you find that your widowed clients prefer to date and meet another widower, or not really?
It depends. I would say it's about 50%, I would say that a lot of the men probably don't care,
Mhm.
but a lot, sometimes the women would prefer somebody that understands. And I think it's where they're at in the process. If this is very new to them and they're maybe a little apprehensive about moving forward with the dating, I feel like that's when they want to date somebody that has a similar background, or was widowed as well, because they understand.
So let's say a woman who's maybe in her 70s is now dating again and her late husband passed, but now she
Mhm.
has, you know, all the wealth. Like, she has all the assets and she makes a good, she has a good income now and can travel and do all the fun things. Like, is she more likely to want to pair up with a guy who also has the same amount of assets? Do you know what I mean? Like, is the money part
Absolutely.
an issue with the widowed clients, men or women?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They want somebody that, yeah, that can bring to the table what they can, and they want somebody usually that's financially stable, especially if they are financially stable. They want, and then that's in whether they're widowed or not. Most people want somebody that can kind of match them financially.
Yeah. Do your clients, your widowed clients who come to you, what percentage of them are open to getting married again, would you say?
I would probably say 60% of them are open to getting married, and usually if they're not open to getting married, it's because of financial reasons. That they would, if they got remarried, their children would lose, their inheritance, or worried about that. That's usually the biggest concern.
Right, right. I could totally see that being a concern.
Mhm.
So, okay, so let's say the idea of starting a new relationship feels exciting and scary at the same time. How would someone manage these conflicting emotions and build the confidence to put themselves out there again?
I think you need to be really, really clear on your communication, with your partner, and I think seek somebody that really aligns with your values. That's super important. Somebody that aligns with your values, because then it'll be easier for you to gain that confidence. Does that make sense? Gain that confidence with that person.
So don't just go after like the hot guy or the hot woman. Like just you still have to like take those other things into consideration. So
Absolutely. And that's where I think, if you're worried about doing it, then that's where you would hire a matchmaker, or try a different avenue if your confidence isn't where you need it to be. And also take things slow. It's I don't think that there's one, black it's dating's not black or white. There's not one rule for everybody. I think, take your time with dating and see if it feels right to you. And if it doesn't, then you try something different. But just,
so let's say there's a person who is maybe like in their 50s or 60s or 70s and
mhm.
they want to date again, but how do they word it on their profile that they're still sexually active or they prefer that they're not sexually active? Like, do those things come into play when, they're trying to write their profiles and to let you guys know who they're looking for?
I'll be honest with you, we don't put that on the profile. We would never put that on the profile. But when as a matchmaker, we're working with the client. We know what their needs are, like for what they're not looking for, and so we would never match them with the person that's not on the same page with that, if that makes sense. Now, and then that's different because with online dating, it is harder. Like, how do you filter that? How do you let a person know that? And with us, it's different because we do work, closely with our clients. So we're able, we know everything about them. And that's something that comes up in the conversation when we're, in the first meeting, usually. And they let us know right away, especially if it's important to them.
So what would they say, for example? How would they let you know what's going on with their sex lives?
Well, most clients are pretty frank with us and say that I want somebody that's active. I might be 70 years old, but I still enjoy, sex or making love. And so I want to make sure that she's active. And those are some of the same question that you're asking is a lot of the questions that we get. They want to know, well, how will this, I'm still active at 80 years old.
Right.
And so we let them know. Yeah.
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 I
So
mean,
we let them
yeah.
know that again, we meet with them, we know their background, we know their goals, we know what they want, what they don't want, and we're not going to match you with somebody that's not on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't work with a
And
lot
and
of clients that are, over 70, but I have. And the men
uh
would say, yes, I'm still very sexually active. I want someone affectionate. I'm sensual.
mhm,
Like those are some words that they put in their profile that you can kind of
right,
know. Um, but I also read profiles online because I also do online dating for some of the clients. And
right.
if a guy or a girl, a woman or a man put on their profile that they're looking for companionship, does that in your mind make it sound like that they're not looking for someone sexual? Like if they just say, I'm looking for a companionship, or do you not think that? I was just curious.
I would probably think that if I saw that he was just looking for a companion, that more than depending on their age, I think it depends on who says it. More than likely, probably just looking for a friend.
Right.
So I think that it's important to put that you are, that you, like you said, I'm very sensual and I, love intimacy or whatever, if you're doing online dating.
So if you're not looking for that, just say you're looking for companionship. I mean, what?
I think that that's probably a conversation. And I know, again, you don't want to, you're trying to filter out, like it's a filtering process. But I think that that's a conversation that should be done one-on-one. And what I always tell my clients is that when you feel comfortable in that relationship, when it feels right, that's when the conversation, when you feel vulnerable enough to open that conversation up, that's when you talk about it. Because there's a lot of times, with clients that haven't dated in years, they feel like, oh gosh, I couldn't possibly think about having sex with somebody else. I haven't done it in so long. But once they get to know somebody and once they start opening up and they feel really secure and they trust that person, their mind changes. So I don't really think that it's something that needs to be put out there right up front. I think that that's something that can happen over time. Now it's different if there's, an issue or a problem where they can't have sex, um, then that's something that they might need to know up front. But I think, when it comes to sex is, we're selling love and yes, people are still sexually active, but that is something that comes after you get to know somebody. And like I said, they feel comfortable and they trust the relationship. And then it goes on from there. But I don't think it's something that needs to be done right away.
Yeah. Do your clients majority just want to date in South Carolina? Like they're not really looking for a long distance relationship or anything like that?
Correct. The majority of my clients, I would probably say 90% are looking for local. They're not looking um, to date outside of South Carolina.
Is it because of their age and they just don't want to travel that much or drive somewhere far? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it just they're more comfortable in South Carolina? They know they don't want to relocate. So,
Right. And like you said, just the driving, we do, we have offices, like I said, from Hilton Head to Columbia. So we do have clients that are open to driving 2 hours or driving an hour. But I think that most people, and depending on their age, again, they're kind of settled there and they want to date somebody that's closer. If they want to see somebody every day, they want to do activities with that person, and so it's important to them that they are closer.
so what tips do you have for the widowed singles out there that want to get back into dating, but they're not looking to hire a matchmaker?
I would say that there's a lot of different avenues. There's meetup groups. If you enjoy pickleball, join a pickleball club. There's so many different ways to meet people. I always, you can go to a store. I always tell my clients we do a little game where I always say, like, Sally, if you're going to Home Depot this weekend, I want you to make eye contact and say hello to any man that's not wearing a wedding ring. You just never know where you're going to meet that person. There's meetup groups. There's a lot of singles, clubs they have in the area. There's, online dating. And, with online dating, I would just tell them to be safe. Make sure the same type of screening that we're doing, you can do as well. You can do that on your own. You can be your own matchmaker. So make sure that you're screening people. That you're not giving out too much information, up front. But there's a lot of different avenues. Tell your friends, let everybody know in your circle that you're single because you just never know, when you don't put it out there, they don't know that you're single or they don't know that you're looking. And so, they can be your matchmakers as well. But there's a lot of different avenues for them to meet somebody. I think you first just got to, put yourself out there, be open to the possibilities.
Do you think being a matchmaker for 25 years now, and you're thinking, gosh, if I were ever single again, or talking to your younger self 25 years ago, do you think you would be a better dater now knowing what you know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so I've learned so much over the years. Just, one of the biggest thing is I know when prior to getting married is I had this list, this long list of what I wanted. And I was just, not willing to veer from that list. And when I ended up getting the person that I married my husband now, he didn't have most of the qualities that were on that list. He was, so I would just say be open and allow yourself to go beyond that because a lot of times we put these limitations on who we want and you just never know who your person's going to be, you know?
I totally agree with that, Jennifer. I mean, even some of my clients that I've worked with, I mean, I've been doing this for about 14 years now, and
Uh-huh.
I still keep in touch with a lot of them. And they would come back to me and say, "Hey, I got married or I'm engaged." I'm like, "Oh, how'd you meet this person? Tell me about them." And send me a photo. And it's completely different from the people we were searching for when we did work together. So it's like you just never know who you're going to end up with. And yeah, it's so different. But what is one date advice that you used to give maybe 25 years ago or 10 years ago that you have tweaked a little bit now or don't believe in? Is there like a tip that you think, gosh, I don't know why I was telling people that, but now I believe this?
Oh, that's a good question. It would probably be the list. I firmly believed that you have the right, and you do, that you can get what you want and you shouldn't have to, veer from that and you don't have to budge. But I've learned over the years that you have to be open. You just have to be open because you just never know. I think, yes, you do have your list of what you really, really want, but you have to, there's things that are non-negotiable and then there's things that are. And I think a lot of times I was putting the height or things that were very non-negotiable. They weren't my must-haves. They weren't the things that I could, live without. And so that's what's changed over the years. I tell people to just be open because you never know. Like, okay, you go out on the date, and what if it's horrible? But what if it's amazing? What if it's amazing? And so just getting them open to be more open and receptive to different things.
Yeah. I think my tip would also be that I used to be pretty strict with helping my clients meet all of their needs and all of their wants on the list. But now I'm saying, give me your list, and I'm only going to find a man or a woman 80% of that list. So I
Right.
don't care what you tell me. If you give me 10 things, she or he might just have 8 of those things, and you're gonna meet them. Like, that's just, you just have to be open. I mean, maybe 80% is actually kinda high, like, maybe it should be 60%, It's like, have we really thought about that as a single person out there that, yes, there are so many negotiables on things. Like, I used to be like, this was so dumb when I was dating in my 20s, that a guy had to, like, dress nice. It's like, who cares? Like, if he doesn't dress nice, once we get together, I can help him dress. Like, he just probably had
Right.
no idea how to dress. So it's like almost being more forgiving with some of those things, right?
Right.
Yeah, just, I mean, I've been with my husband for about 16 years now. We've been married for
Well,
6. And yeah, he definitely was not someone I thought I would end up with. He probably barely meets 30% of my list, but we get along great, and we have a great life together. But it's like all those things, like the women out there who I work with who want to have kids, man, if you're like 33 and under, like, yes, you should focus on finding a partner. But if you're 34 and older, it's like, don't be so picky. Doesn't matter if he's 2 inches shorter than what you want. Doesn't matter that he lives a little bit further than what you'd like. It's like all those things are negotiable, right? All those things
a-
are not deal breakers.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I do with my clients is I tell them to make their list. And then what I have them do is I have them give me the top 5 non-negotiables. These are the things that you absolutely will not budge on. And then they realize once they do that, that it's, somebody that's, wants a family, somebody that has the same values as me. And it's more of what they need instead of what they want. And that's what I learned too with my marriage is my husband, he was the things that I really needed, not the things that I wanted. Things
Yeah.
that I needed in order for our relationship to thrive, for me to be whole, feeling a sense of security, feeling like feeling at home with him.
Yeah.
So,
I love it. I love it. Well, Jennifer, tell the audience, how would they find you, and what is your ideal client? Like, who you want to work with?
I want to work with everybody. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time, so I have worked with so many people, different backgrounds, different financial levels, relationship status. If you want to reach out to me, you can go to southcarolinamatchmakers.com. If you're in the South Carolina Matchmakers area. If you're not in that area and you'd like to do coaching, you can just go to jenniferjhayes.com, and I'm on all social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. You can find me anywhere.
Okay. I will for sure put all that in the show notes
Thank
as
you.
well. So, well, Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time to be on this week's episode of the Asian Dating Podcast. I really appreciated all the tips you gave us can be applied to Asians, non-Asians, I'm sure. So thank you so much. And for you out there, if you're looking to hire a matchmaker, looking to meet lovely Asian women, men, I would love to work with you. And ladies, please fill out a profile with me so I can find you and set you up with someone great. Who knows? It might be someone in South Carolina. You never know. So thank you so
for
much.
having me.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.